Welcome viewers. In the week 3, the determinants of what causes structure. To take it forward, we will discuss about the role of strategy or the impact of strategy on organizational structure. Here we will be discussing about the relationship between strategy and structure, what is strategy, different types of strategy, classify the various dimensions of strategy. Finally, we will discuss about Chandler's strategy structure relationship in his proposed work. What is strategy? Strategy is nothing but a plan of action. To very simply quote, these are various plans for attaining the short and long term objectives of an organization. Strategy can be otherwise defined as a plan for long term goals and objectives of an enterprise, and the adoption of various courses of actions and allocation of resources which are required to carry out these goals. So, how is strategic management defined? Strategic management is what managers do to develop an organizational strategies or the plans. Strategies, as we have discussed, are the decisions and actions that determine the long term performance of an organization. For example, we have seen that various organizations, they intend to become a world class organizations. They intend to be in the number one position. So, how is that attained? What are the plans and actions in order to reach number one or number two positions? Like we have seen various organizations grow, like General Electric or General Motors, they have reached their epitome of success. The reason is the plans of actions. How Tatas have gained excellence in their in respective businesses they have been in. So, all this is possible because of the various strategies, decisions, plans, and actions for the long term success or performance of an organization. So, all this rests on the business model. There is a business model, a proposed model for any organization to be successful. So, what is the business model? It's a strategic design for how company intends to earn profit from the various strategies, the various processes and activities, and they focus on two things: what is the value the customers would get, what customers will value what the company is providing them, how do customers perceive the usefulness of the product or the worth of their money invested in the product, whether the company can make money doing that. So, the company will also see what is the return on their investment. And why is strategic management important? It results in higher organizational performance. It requires that managers examine and adapt to the business environmental changes. It may so happen that a company has started with a plan or a strategic decision or about where to invest or what products they need to focus on, what is the core technology through which they will be earning their profit. But in due course of time, because of changes in technology, because of the factors in the business environment, there are various, like the crisis which has occurred in the business environment due to the intense rivalry in the business environment, customers' needs and preferences have changed. So, the organization would not be maintaining the same strategy, would not continue to move forward with the same strategy. There would be different products which will be floated in due course of time. The company may add on or company may adopt new strategies, may adopt new measures and new technology in order to move forward. And it coordinates diverse organizational units, helping them focus on organizational goals, which means that the organization may have started with a small size, but when the environmental demands have changed, they may have strategic alliances with other companies. They may not continue with one unit or the few units they have. They may diversify, they may invest in other businesses, and so in a way the company may also acquire few more businesses helping the organization to focus on the goals and objectives, how to earn profit, how to sustain in the market. So there is a strategic management process which has certain steps. Every organization views the strategic management steps or the strategic management process as very important. It starts with identifying the organization's current mission, goals, and strategies. Further, there is a SWOT analysis which is initiated with external and internal analysis. External analysis emphasizes on the opportunities and threats in the business environment. Internal analysis identifies the strength, core strength of the company and the weaknesses. It has to analyze or it has to overcome the weaknesses and encash on the strengths. So, further, the company formulates various strategies, plans, and actions so that it can implement those strategies and evaluate results. So, the strategic management process starts with identifying the current mission, goals, and strategies, SWOT analysis, formulating strategy, implementing strategy, and evaluating results. So, the step 1 talks about identifying the current mission, goals, and strategies. Let us focus on what a mission is. Mission is purpose of an organization, the scope of its products, services, like we have seen in case of healthcare. The healthcare has become very competitive and the ultimate objective is not just to provide patient care but giving a patient an experience. So they emphasize on how they can include new technology through which the patient can be given better experience. So new products, services keep on adding so that the healthcare can reach its mission. Similarly, what are the goals, the foundation for further planning? That means measurable performance targets. What are the goals for the short and long term? And which can be measured in terms of, like say for example, we are saying the company intends to be number 1 in its business, the current business they are in, or the company intends to provide the best products and services to make their customers satisfied or to have a loyal base of customers or to provide experience to the customers. So they must be having certain goals. Though what are the measurable targets, measurable performance targets? How do you give customers a better experience? In terms of qualitative and quantitative goals. Like qualitative goals, like you want to give them a better quality of products, you want to give them like which are free of any defects, and how many products, whether somebody is buying one product, you are giving them some kind of benefits in return. So we can measure, or measurable performance targets are nothing but the goals. Step 2 talks about what is external analysis and internal analysis. So external analysis is the environmental scanning of specific and general environment. As we know that every business organization has an environment which consists of specific environment and general environment, which focuses on identifying the opportunities and threats. The components of mission statement, a company need to understand what are the components of a mission statement, who are the customers and which market the firm will be geographically competing, which market you focus on, what is the concern of company, whether survival, growth, profitability, is the firm committed to grow or to maintain its financial stability. What is the philosophy or the basic values, beliefs and ethical priorities of the company? There are companies like Johnson and Johnson, even if there is a problem internally or externally, there is some problem like a Tylenol crisis, the company still maintains its ethical priority. Company will not focus on earning profit, but would focus on giving customers a better experience, adopting ethical means. So, every company has a different value system, the based on the founders principles and beliefs, value system, or the concern for public image. How responsive is the firm to the society and the environment? Products or services? What is the firm's major product and service? Every firm will have a different priority, different product services. Like Boeing was in commercial aircraft, then it further expanded into defense, and by acquiring McDonnell Douglas, further it has expanded its businesses to the space technology. So the company will very clearly mention in its mission statement how does it intend to earn profit through the products and services. What is the current technology? The technology keeps on changing uh, over a period of time. What we started, we have seen in the uh, Industry 1.0, where the focus was on mechanical machines. Further, it was the focus of the industry when it changed with industrial revolution. The focus has been shifted towards the electric power, then automation, and artificial intelligence, machine learning. Today, there is focus on cyber physical system in Industry 5.0. So, the technology will keep on changing. So, the company clearly defines what is the firm's technology and whether the technology is the current one, which is in order to catch up with the competition. So, self concept is what are the firm's major competitive advantage and what are the core competence. Every company has certain core competence, like the resources they have in terms of the human capital, or the finance, or the technology which they have, technology, infrastructure, or any other resource which they have, they can leverage to earn a competitive advantage. Then, concern for employees. Are the employees a valuable asset for the firm? How is the firm giving or how's the firm taking care of its employees, investing on the valuable assets of the firm, employees learning and growth, their career prospects, all that will pay back the company in the long term. In the step 3 of strategic management process, the focus is on internal analysis, assessing organizational resources, capabilities, activities. Strengths create value for the customers and strengthen the competitive position of the firm. Weaknesses can place the firm at a disadvantage. Analyzing financial and physical assets is fairly easy, but assessing intangible assets, employee skills, culture, corporate reputation, and so forth is not very easy. So, both step 2 and 3 are together called SWOT analysis, that is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. Further, strategies are formulated in step 4, develop and evaluate strategic alternatives, select appropriate strategies for all levels in the organization and provide relative advantage over competitors, match organizational strengths to the environmental opportunities, and try to overcome the weaknesses and guard against the threats which are there existing in the environment. And the step 5 talks about how the strategies are being implemented, effectively fitting the organization structure and activities in the environment. The environment has several components in the specific and general environment, like the intensity of rivalry, the competitors, the suppliers, the changes in the general environment. There is a pestle factor, that is political, economic, socio-demographic, technological factors. All these factors create complexity. The environment dictates the chosen strategy. Effective strategy implementation requires an organization structure which has to be matched up with the requirement in the business environment. Lastly, the step 6 talks about how do we evaluate results. We have selected strategy. Does this strategy fit into the business environment? How effective have strategies been? What is the adjustment it is required, if at all? What adjustment is required in order to catch up with the business environmental demands? So, the organizational strategic intent talks about the energies and resources which have been directed towards a focus or unifying to compel a goal. Strategic intent talks about organizations mission, competitive advantage and core competence. It is organizations energies resources which have been directed the towards attaining organizations goals. Operating goals like overall performance, what are the resources available, and how is the market, and employee development, whether the organization has taken care of learning and growth of employees, whether the organization's focus is on innovation or adapt to change, what is the focus on productivity. These are called the operating goals, or in order to attain the mission which the organization has. Organizational goal is a desired state of affair that an organization attempts to reach. Primarily, it is the responsibility of top management to determine what is an organization's goals, strategy, and design, so that organization keeps on adapting to change in the business environment. SWOT analysis talks about assessment of strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat that affect organizations' performance. We will also discuss about scenario planning involving looking at the current trends, what is the trend and what we have to continue and discontinue, and visualize future possibilities. So, scenario planning helps an organization to assess which business to continue, which business to discard in order to be most profitable. So, the entire strategy direction and organizational design consist of the assessing external environment, opportunities, threat, uncertainty, or resource availability. Internal environment assessment consists of strength, weaknesses, distinctive or core competence, leadership style, which type of leader would be able to navigate the organization through various crises, then past performance or the history of an organization. All this helps an organization to grow. Every organization, you must have seen that a leader has a specific leadership style, and leader has to be only those leaders will be successful who are able to assess the internal organization strengths and weaknesses. They are able to see or distribute the resources effectively within the organization, and they are also able to carry forward the legacy of the founders. Strategic intent very clearly talks about mission, official goals, and select operational goals and competitive strategies. So, the goals may not be very clear, so it has to be operationalized, which has to be broken down into very clear, well defined statements so that people understand, and then you have to match it with the core competence of organizations so that it can become a competitive advantage or competitive strategy for a firm. Then organizational design, then it talks about the structural form, that means learning versus efficiency. What is the structure of an organization? Whether it has to be a top down approach or a centralized structure or a very decentralized structure, depending on what is the what goals the organization has, what strategy they have. Information and control strategy, what is the production technology, what is the policy for human resources, and what is the culture of an organization. If a family oriented culture, whether there will be a mechanistic structure or a tall hierarchical structure, if there is a professional organization or the organization is profit oriented, very rule bound, what would be the structure? If the organization emphasizes on innovation, whether it should go with a very flexible structure with less formalization, and uh, what is the linkage of inter-organizational departments or inter-organizational coordination. So, the design, organizational design elements of organizational designs need to be understood, and which will lead to a successful outcome or effective outcome in terms of attaining the goals: resource allocation, efficiency, and strategic constituents. So, which this emphasizes on the strategy, directions, and organizational design go hand in hand. The management decides what should be the strategic intent, and it has to be aligned with the strategic design in order to make your plans more effective. Let us talk about the mission statement of a savings bank. Savings bank has a mission like to be exceptional in every relationship, every product developed, in every science rendered, and every promise made, is a mission which has been proposed by a savings bank. And a vision is to provide the most exceptional banking experience in a particular state, or to provide the most exceptional banking experience to the customers. This is an abstract concept. It's not very clear to the customer. Principles are driven to be the best, and to be the best, we look forward through the lens of customers to deliver the best product and services in the cost effective way. Building a winning performance culture, to create a winning performance culture, we need to first operate with the highest standards of integrity. Executives or execute as one. Together, we will focus on a consistent, strong financial performance during good times and bad times. So, the mission statement of a savings bank mostly emphasizes on how they can provide best customer experience or an exceptional experience to the customer by working together with each other, and with the principles of ethics, or the best products and services in the cost effective way, and how they can develop a winning performance culture by giving or providing highest standards of integrity. But this does not make it very clear. The mission statement is something which talks about an abstract concept. You have to make it or operationalize when you want to put forth a goal or a short term or long term strategy or plan. Similarly, mission statement of a healthcare company talks about we care about the customers. We are a pharmacy innovation company. Our strategy is reinventing pharmacy. Our purpose is helping people to their path of better health, and values are innovation, collaboration, caring, care and concern, integrity, and accountability. So, this again, the mission statement talks about all the more we as a company talk about, or we are more concerned about the customer or the patient care. So, we have to understand that a company has a broad purpose which is very abstract and which may not be understood by the customers or the patient in case of a healthcare company. The goals need to be operationalized, organization's purpose to be made very clear. For example, how do we operationalize a goal? Designate the ends sought through the actual operating procedures of the organization. Explain what the company is actually trying to do, giving a better experience, giving the best performance standards is immaterial to the customer or the patient. Describe measurable outcomes. What is the concern? How do you get the outcomes in the short run? Typically pertain to primary tasks. What is the primary task that we are giving to the patient? For example, to the customers, what is the primary task of an organization must perform? For example, if a patient is admitted, what is the primary task which is carried out? How is the patient taken care of on admission to a hospital? Examples of operating goals are overall performance, resources, market, employee development, innovation and change, productivity. So, in this case, when for a patient, what is the technology that you have adopted? So, the patient has minimum of pain while the operation is carried out. How do you develop your employees? By sending them for various developmental programs, sending them, like giving sabbaticals so that they can learn and develop. Like doctors have been sent for 2 years to a higher center to develop and get a first hand experience how the company has adopted new technology by acquiring resources or by having a collaboration with a higher center. So, all these are some examples of operationalizing goals. Now, there can be goal conflict, like pursuing some goals means that some other goals may be delayed or set aside or put forth. So, there are different concerns of organizations, operational goals like productivity, innovation and change, market goals, overall performance goals, resource goals, and employee development goals. So, what we have understood from the discussion is there are different types of strategies, and organizations that are in multiple businesses need to develop different strategies for different levels of activities. And the strategic imperative says that a strategy of an organization or the plan of action is influenced by environmental factors and organization's capability, which in uh, in return will define the structure of an organization. There are different types of strategies like corporate level strategy, competitive strategy, and functional strategies. So, how do we understand the different categorization of strategies? Corporate level strategy is if an organization is in multiple businesses, more than one line of business, it will need a corporate level strategy. This strategy seeks to answer the questions in what set of business should we be in? Like uh, Boeing was first in commercial aircraft. So, the commercial aircraft was its prime focus. Further, it has gone into multiple acquiring the McDonnell Douglas, where it has then further explored into the defense business, defense aircraft, then further space technology, because it has to catch up with the competition. General Electrics was in power sector. Later on, it has acquired financial, GE Financial. GE also ventured into different other businesses which are non-core, like it is into uh, various other businesses. GE is into aircraft maintenance and so on. So, corporate level strategy determines the roles that each business in the organization will play. What is the role of each business? Like you have Tata is into different multiple businesses. They are in Tata is in Tata Chemicals. Tata has also businesses like computers, TCS or consulting services. They are into aviation. So there are multiple businesses which they have. Reliance is also into multiple businesses. So here what we are discussing is corporate level strategy determines the roles that each business in the organization will play, and corporate level strategy is the overall strategy or plan of action for all the businesses it has. Now, what is business level strategy? Business level strategy seeks to answer the question how should we compete in one strategic business unit or in our businesses, multiple businesses that we have. For the small organization, it is only one line of business, or the large organizations which has uh, which has multiple businesses diversified into several businesses, the business level strategy is typically uh, into the businesses they are in. For small organizations which has not gone for any diversification, which have just one business, business level strategy is typically the same as corporate level strategy. So, types of organizational strategies that we have understood is corporate strategy, business strategy and functional strategy. Corporate strategy, top management's overall plan for the entire organization and its strategic business units. There are different types of corporate strategies. One is growth, stability, renewal, and growth strategies growth strategy talks about expansion into new products and markets. by increasing its market share. Stability, where the firm doesn't want to extend or expand or have new products and venture into new markets. It just maintains the continuity and order, but just maintaining the status quo, where it uh, doesn't want to give or invest on new products. Renewal strategies examination of organizations' weaknesses that are leading to performance declines. Growth strategy seeks to increase organizations' business by expansion into new products and markets. There are different types of growth strategies like concentration, vertical integration, horizontal integration, and diversification. Concentration focuses on the primary line of business and increases the number of products offered to the new market served. Like you have Britannia is manufacturing biscuits. Now, earlier it started with a very basic variety of biscuits like Britannia, Marie or thin arrowroot. These were very few variants. Later on, it started to have offer different types of products, like it start focuses on the primary line of business, just the bakery, and the number of product lines have increased, where it focused on NutriChoice brand of biscuits with NutriChoice digestive cream cracker to serve the customers who are health conscious or the needs of diabetic patients. Then further, there are also various products, like for the kids they have cream and chocolate versions of Britannia brands. Then you have the sugar coated biscuits for the people's choice and preference. So it serves the needs of different demographic segments, different people with different preferences. So the focus is on primary line of business, but they have increased the products offered to different markets served. For rural customers, they have Tiger brands of biscuits, they have small packs, bigger packs, and so on. Vertical integration talks about backward vertical integration and forward vertical integration. Integration talks about attempting, backward vertical integration talks about attempting to gain control of inputs, becoming a self supplier. Like there are some firms which are their own suppliers, like Reliance Fresh, which procures products direct from the fresh vegetables from the farm or farm fresh. Forward vertical integration, which many firms have started adopting, like attempting to gain control over their distribution channels or providing customer service activities, eliminating the intermediaries like Adidas, Reebok. They have their own stores, and Fab India, they're selling there in their brand. So, eliminating the intermediaries, they are selling it in their own stores. Corporate strategies like horizontal integration talks about combining operations with another competitor or acquiring competitors' business in the same industry to increase competitive strength and lower competition amongst industry rivals. Flipkart acquired eCart, so it is again an example of horizontal integration. Walmart acquired Flipkart. So, all these are examples. Horizontal integration, like these, uh, when the firm is taking over the rivals or competitors, like we have in case of banking sector, we have seen a lot of banks who have acquired the banks which are doing less. ICICI Bank has taken over the Bank of Madura. So, all these are examples which we can just quote to give an example of horizontal integration. Horizontal integration is combining operations with another competitor in the same industry to increase competitive strength and lower competition among industry rivals. For example, we can quote some more, like Boeing's acquiring McDonnell Douglas is there in the aircraft manufacturing. They have the bigger company acquires the new the weaker company. HP and Compaq merger. We can talk about Flipkart uh, acquiring eCart. So these are few examples. Related diversification, when the companies are when the expanding by combining with firms in different but unrelated industries that are strategic fit. For example, Godrej has different types of businesses. Godrej is manufacturing refrigerator, is manufacturing locks, is mostly a storage device. So Godrej uh, has the almirahs, it is manufacturing locks and so on, and various types of door locks they have come up with, expanding by combining with firms in different but related industries that are strategic fit. So where they can use the resources which they are using for one. Unrelated diversification is growing by combining with firms in unrelated industries where higher financial returns are possible. We talked about General Electrics, how it has acquired businesses in different businesses it has acquired, like it is mostly in the power sector, power dissemination, distribution, but it has also its focus was now focus has shifted towards developing, like acquiring businesses in the financial sector, investing on aviation or aircraft maintenance. All these are unrelated diversification where the firm is investing on the new areas in order to get possible financial returns. So, corporate strategy of stability talks about a strategy that seeks to maintain the status quo to deal with uncertainty of a dynamic environment when the industry is experiencing slow or no growth conditions, or if the owner of the firm elect not to grow for personal reasons. Then let us discuss about what is renewal strategy. Developing strategies to counter organizational weaknesses that are leading to performance. There are mostly like it happens in case when the firm is not able to incur, or the firm is incurring loss, and the firm is it can happen in both ways, like it can be a huge amount of loss or a very minimal amount of loss or a temporary loss. Renewal strategy talks about developing strategies to counter organizations loss or the weaknesses that are leading to decline in performance. There are again two types of renewal strategy. One is retrenchment, another is called turnaround. What is retrenchment? It focuses on eliminating non critical weaknesses and restoring strengths to overcome current performance problem, which talks about when the firm is incurring a small or a minimal amount of loss, which can be due to some non critical weaknesses or due to some minimum or say some small problems or errors or temporary issues, maybe because of some product failure or because of a some machine failure. So this can be corrected by restoring on, by leveraging on or identifying where the problem has occurred. So this will resolve the current performance problems. The second one talks about where the firm is incurring a huge amount of loss due to the critical long term performance problems. So in that case, the firm has ignored or firm is not able to identify the root cause of the problem. Through the use of strong cost elimination measures and large scale organizational restructuring would be one of the viable solutions. What we have seen in the major, in many of the organizations, they have either ignored the signals where of incurring losses. When the loss continues to go on and the firm has completely becomes clueless where the problem lies, and because of that the firm is not able to correct. So in that case a turnaround strategy is being adopted where a large scale reforms, restructuring, downsizing happens, and the organization at times is not even able to maintain or to sustain the crisis. In that, for example, Air India was doing very well, but one point of time there was they started incurring losses because of certain routes where it was not very profitable. So they had internal issues, the problems of the organization. The company was not able to manage the internal problems and they could not sustain and survive. So there was a new phase of Air India which was taken over by Tatas. So this is how the organizations need to revamp or change their strategy when they are incurring huge loss. Further, we will discuss about the corporate portfolio analysis. What happens to the firms which are into multiple businesses, and there are some businesses where they are doing very well, they are in number 1, number 2 positions. In some businesses, they are not able to incur huge amount of profit, but they are maintaining stability, and in some businesses of the company there is a minimal amount of loss or a huge loss. So, and the company, the corporate level strategy is always to earn profit, to be sustainable. So there is a kind of a guidelines proposed by Boston Consulting Group metrics, which talks about how managers manage the portfolio or the various business units or collection of businesses using a corporate portfolio matrix called Boston Consulting Group matrix, which is developed by the group of consultants, Boston Consulting Groups. They consider market share and industry growth rate, classifies firms into different types like cash cows, stars, question marks, and dogs. These are the quadrants which has been developed on the dimensions of market share and anticipated growth rate based on whether it is low and high and low. If the anticipated growth rate is very low and the market share is high, it is called cash cows. If the high anticipated growth rate and the market share is very high, it is called stars. The category is called stars, and there is low on the dimensions of market share, and the degree of anticipated growth rate is very high, that is called question mark, and the anticipated growth rate is low, whereas it is also low on market share. That particular segment is called dogs. Let us now understand what is it all about. The classification categorizes. Uh, so it talks about certain products, like for example, Nestle has different products. Each product may or may not be profitable. So there are some products uh, Nescafe, which is having high market share, and the market share is very high and anticipated growth rate is very high. So it comes under the stars category. There is another product like Maggie, which has a high market share, but anticipated growth rate is very less. Then it will come under, but presently it is giving a huge amount of profit. So it can be categorized as cash cow. Why there is a less or the future of this product is not very bright? The reason is because uh, there are certain lifestyle diseases. The product is made of white flour, which is not very healthy option a, for a person. So there are good variants, or there are proposed new variants, healthier food options are coming up. So therefore, in future it may not be, there may be healthier options coming or replacing this product. There are again the products like Nestea, then products like Nestle's pickle, though pickle and tea is mostly preferred, but this particular product by the company is not earning a huge market share. The same time, the product is like the taste of the product may be uh, not very good, so that it's low anticipated growth rate. The product like Nestea, which is they have tried to give different make it different variant like Nestea as iced tea, still there is no demand, or growth rate is very bleak. So therefore the product falls under the dogs category. Question mark is a product where the anticipated growth rate is very bright, but the anticipated growth rate is very high, but the product has a market share which is very low. Those products are falling under the question marks category. Like you have chocolates. Chocolates are preferred by the kids, but what is the Nestle has a product like uh, milk bar or milk chocolate. The Milky Bar is something which is not earning a huge profit at present, because that is not because of the perception of white chocolate is not preferred by the young customers or the kids, because they perceive chocolate to be brown in color. Chocolate is perceived to be brown in color. So, what we have understood from this, Boston Consulting Group Metrics categorizes products on the basis of, or it is guidelines to help the marketers or the company to decide what businesses they have, what is the like, and they develop a strategy to which firms to invest and which firms to divest, where which products to continue forward and which to, where the product has to be modified or where the business has to be discontinued. Such kind of strategy is proposed by Boston Consulting Group Metrics. Dogs are those products which do not have, which have a low preference or low market share, and there is a low anticipated growth rate, like we discussed about Nestle. Though there is a preference for tea, but this product has not been liked because the taste is not very good. And there is another product like uh, uh, milk bar, milk chocolate or milk bar, which is perceived by the kids as something which is uh, chocolates to be brown in nature, brown in color. The chocolates are preferred to be brown in color. So, therefore, the dogs are those businesses where the market share is very low, as well as there is also the anticipated growth rate is low. So, based on the Boston Consulting Group metrics, the company can decide which businesses to continue and which businesses to discard. So, this will help the managers to manage the portfolio of businesses and to decide or to make a viable decision about the organization's strategic business units. Further, we discuss about Chandler's strategy. Alfred Chandler proposed relationship between the strategy structure in his book Strategy and Structure in 1962. Propositions of Chandler: structure must follow and align with the growth strategy, and change in strategy creates administrative problems. Like as the strategy of innovation, the organization from changes its structure from the mechanistic to organic structure in order to support the innovation. But the new structure needs to be reconfigured. It is not very easy with there are administrative issues, because people who are working, they are very clear with the tall and hierarchical structure, the bureaucratic structure, and asking them to shift towards an organic form of structure, so that that will rise into the administrative issues or problems will arise. Formulate long term goals and then design a suitable structure. Then misalignment leads to inefficiency issues. When we are planning for a long term goal and then design a suitable structure, the if the goal and the structure is not aligned, it will again lead to inefficiencies. What is the conclusion based on the case study analysis of DuPont? These conclusions have been drawn based on the case study analysis of various organizations like DuPont, General Motors, Standard Oil of New Jersey, Sears, Reebok. They have adapted organizational forms as a response to the market expansion strategy and technological advancement strategies. As we have discussed, as the market demands or the technology keeps on evolving, some organizations are fascinated by the new technology and fascinated by the competition, or in a passion to remain number one position, or to gain prowess in the market, to be more sustainable. They are just catching up with the competition, and they forget to align their strategy with the structure. Diversification and integration, centralization, functional departmentalization structure became unwieldy. Managing multiple products and markets with a single central office sometimes becomes inefficient. multi-divisional structure or M-form structure with autonomy to divisions, like divisions are given more power based on the product or geography to manage daily operations, and general offices handled strategic planning and resource allocation. So, these are most efficient solutions like multi-divisional structure where the firm is having multiple departments. The autonomy is given to divisions or departments or the which are focusing on the product lines or geography to manage the or daily day-to-day operations. But the general office maintains the strategic planning and resource allocation. Then the organization will be most efficient. Chandler's strategy proposes as time progresses with the passage of time, the structure moves from simple to functional to divisional structures. Product diversification strategy, from low to it becomes moderate to high. So, a modern perspective of Chandler's strategy says that Chandler's model has been refined over a period of time. It talks about intertwined relationship. Later scholars such as Henry Mintzberg argued that strategy and structure are often more intertwined than Chandler's linear or top-down model. Evolving factors like modern theories incorporate additional factors beyond strategy that influence structure. For example, there are more factors like technology, size, environment, which also influence the structure, and the core principle remains relevant. Contemporary organizations also ensure that they are adaptable and their structure is aligned with the strategy in a dynamic, fast changing business environment. So, what we have discussed, when we are proposing a strategy, the structure must be aligned with the strategy, and there are certain evolving factors like technology, size, business environment. They also influence in some way or the other, they influence organizations structure. Thank you.